Hi, Stamper fans. Welcome to another Make It Monday. Thanks for joining me, whether you're here live on Facebook or if you're watching the replay on Facebook or on YouTube. I'm so glad you're here. I am Nan Gerlitz, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Bloomington, Illinois, and I am here to help you connect with your people, whether that's gathering together to craft or you making something handmade to share with them. It's all about making and deepening those connections. So let's get to it. All right. So first up, as always, is Friday night stamping results. So these were the two cards we had from Friday night stamping. And I think you can tell a little better. Those butterflies are silver. I'm not sure if you could tell that on the original photographs Friday night. And then we've got the bookish one with all the plaid and the little tassels. So it was a hello, Linda. It was a very close vote on over the weekend. And I found a hidden little comment on one of the individual cards. And so this card won, which was my card. So I'm back on top again this week. This one's super fun, and this is the first time I've used this little die for making the tassels that comes with the For the Books bundle. Absolutely love this bundle, of course. Library worker, right? Heavy reader, all that kind of stuff. Although you wouldn't know it from my Goodreads tally. But anyway, yeah, these little tassels were super fun and pretty easy to make with the little die cut. So I don't know that I would make a whole like Christmas card slew of them, but they were fun. Hi, Penny. So did your favorite win? Let me know in the comments. For the Books was the winner this week. So, all right. Moving on to this evening. It's Technique Week. Yay! We love techniques. This is kind of fun, this little new schedule thing that I've got going because I get to share techniques with you, and I like to do that kind of stuff, but I didn't always have it in my head to do that on Friday nights, and I was usually sharing my card from Friday night. So now I have a little more freedom to do whatever I want on Friday night, and I can have a plan for you guys on Monday. So the plan tonight is to show you a technique using our Stampin' Write markers. And the Stampin' Write markers are different from our Stampin' Blends. So you can tell like just right away, the caps are different, right? So they look very different there. They do both have a brush tip and a bullet tip for writing or whatever, but they are very different inks. So your Stampin' Blends, let me get the words the right way. These are alcohol-based markers, so you do not want to use them directly on your stamps. They're strictly for coloring, things like that. Coloring ribbon as well. I'll show you both of those tonight because I'm coloring ribbon with my Stampin' Write markers. The Stampin' Write markers are water-based inks, so they are basically the same ink that is in our Stampin' Pads. So anything that you can do with our stamp pads, you'd be able to do with our markers. Obviously, sometimes a Stampin' Pad is much better. If you have a big background stamp, you're not going to want to try to color it in with marker. Although I did, and I'll show you that at the end of the video. So tonight, what I'm going to be talking to you about is markering directly on your stamps to get multicolored images. All right, so we're going to be using the Thoughtful Wishes bundle, which is this gorgeous, I mean, the images alone are gorgeous, but you know I'm a sucker for a good font, and I love mixed fonts where there's, you know, some like printed letter and then some cursive. What do you call that in font world? Penny, do you know? Does anybody know? Like, this is script, right? And I don't know what you call it, typeface. I don't know. Anyway, you all know what I'm trying to say. And then we've got this great die set that does indeed cut out these individual, not that one. So it'll cut out these two, and then it'll give you a lot of other choices as well. Non-cursive. I don't know. I know there's a word for it. My brain is just like blank, nothing. So, but then you've got also some other little detailed dies as well. In fact, these two, I'm so glad you enjoy my humor. These two I found out over the weekend. Where's my little, yeah. So if you cut this one out, and then you cut this one out in a different color, you can layer them on top of each other so that you have the pretty colored buds, blooms, whatever, and then you have the green leaves. But all along the bottom, that's pink. So very cool little discovery I made that I'm sure other people knew before. All right, let's get to it, shall we? Enough of this jibber jabber. Script, yeah, that's what I thought, the regular cursive, but I don't know. Script is the cursive. I don't know what the regular block lettering is called. Thanks, Linda. Yeah, that was a neat little find. I was like, I wonder why both of these exist. So we're going to be using this fun little guy, and the whole reason I got the idea for this was because the Stamper Man used this the week before, and I thought, wait, I think I can use that with the markers. So I will tell you, in my personal experience, the red rubber cling stamps are much better for this technique. I keep talking to my laptop. I changed my setup, as you can tell, so now I have to get used to talking to my camera. But the red rubber is much better for this technique. It accepts the ink a lot better, but your photopolymer can also use this. It's not always as crisp. So just a little a caveat for you, if you will. So you're going to want to use the brush tip of your Stampin' Write markers. And I'm going to do the greens first because there's a lot more of the green to go through. And there is like kind of a little, I don't remember what that part of the flower is called, that little, it's like a peplum that just kind of hangs out underneath the bud or the bloom. So we're going to do all the stems and all the leaves and that little, I don't know, peplum, whatever it is. If you want to Google that one, Penny, that'd be good. Hey, Lucia. I watched your live this afternoon, my afternoon. Beautiful cards, and you keep using that darn sweet, and you're going to make me get that sweet, and doggone it. It's so pretty with all the gold foil. Okay, so we've got all the greens done. Now I'm going to use the fresh freesia. That was old olive I was using. I'm going to use the fresh freesia, and I'm just going to color in those flowers. So this is a nice way you can get that two-toned image, because obviously you don't want green flowers and green stems, right? You want some color there. So if you ever have a stamp that's like, oh, I feel like this needs to be two different colors, this is the perfect way to do it. Now, here's the important part. At this point, your ink has started to dry a bit. So you want to breathe on it to re-moisten the ink. Don't get it too close. Then you'll just stamp down just like regular. And voila, you have a multicolored image. Now, as long as you're going to do the same colors, there's no need to clean it in between. You can just go back and do it again. Perhaps I should have done a couple of these ahead of time. But while we're sitting here chatting, I will let you know that one of the reasons I wanted to use the Stampin' Write markers this week is because they are part of our Join special for Celebration. So when you join my Steampunk Stampers team, as a discount diva or a business builder or anything in between, you can pick out not only $125 worth of product, but also you get to pick out 2 color families of the Stampin' Write markers. So we have 4 different color families. We have subtles and regals and neutrals and brights. So something for everybody. And you get to pick out 2 of those, which is an extra $70 for the same price. Plus, you get an exclusive stamp set that is not available for purchase. Beautiful. So that's why I wanted to show you, well, what do I do with these markers if I have them? Because I know I use the blends an awful lot. I do love them. But I wanted to give you an idea of what you can do with these as well. These are also great if you like to craft on the go, because they do come in a color family of 10 each, or if you're getting the in colors, it's a family of 5 each. So they're a very inexpensive way to get 10 colors of ink. They're normally $35 for the assortment of color family. But of course, they'll be free if you just join up. But yeah, and then they're in this little, plastic case. You can just pop them in your bag if you're going to be stamping on the go. The other thing I love doing with these is, hold on a moment. The other thing I love doing with these is writing on the inside of my card. So when you normally are writing out your little birthday message or get well message, whatever it is, you can pick a Stampin' Write marker that matches the cardstock you used, and then you can write on the inside in an ink that matches the rest of your project. So that's an extra little, so over the top, look at me, I'm Martha Stewart kind of thing, and it's so easy to do. And I forget about that as well, so I'm going to start doing that. There we go. Okay. So I'm also going to do my sentiment with the markers, even though I could do this with a stamp pad. Just line it up here so I know it's straight. I may have to, now that I have moved my setup, I may need to go back to paper or something here, because I'm getting a lot of reflection from my overhead lights and all sorts of things. So as not to cause you too much eye strain, I'll probably go back to paper next week. But yeah, you do want to use, when you're using the brush tip, just use it on the side. You're getting a lot of coverage that way, so you're getting all that instead of just the tip. Again, just a little remoisten there. Voila. It is a slightly different, I don't know, appearance that I get when, instead of using an ink pad for some reason. Neither is better or worse. It's just a little different. So we've got that all done. Let us see. We are going to, oh, one more thing. I forgot. The inside of our card. So there's this little splatter guy I like. So I thought we would put him on the inside. This is a really good technique. Yeah, we call that huffing in the old days. Exactly. But you can't say that, because that was when the kids were doing glue, I think they called it huffing when they were sniffing glue. So we tend to not use that term anymore. I just call it breathing on it. Much safer. All righty. So that is all of our stamping. I already did one that I die cut, so to save a little bit of time. Let's get our, oops, I forgot to score my cardstock. You guys get a little bonus demonstration here tonight. So I need it at 4 1/4. I love our trimmer because it comes with a cutting blade and a scoring blade. And if you were here for my little tutorial, I don't know, a few weeks ago, so you have the side that you scored, so that's got a dimple, and the other side is sticking up, so that's a pimple, and you don't want the pimple showing, you want the dimple showing. So the dimple goes on the outside. All right, Penny, the perianth or perduncle, is that are we back to the fonts? Is that what you're looking up? Or was it something else? Oh, it was the flower part. Yes, I remember that. As soon as I started saying it, yes. So that is the little spot right under the flower that holds it. Okay, thank you very much. I love that I have a Google expert here that's willing to do my research for me while I'm chatting. All right. Okay, I also want to tell you a little something about how I love liquid glue, right? I'm like such a convert, but twice this weekend, once on Friday night and then once on Saturday when I was getting ready for stuff, I glued something down either wrong or too soon or whatever. And when you do it with liquid glue, you can't use the little uh, dental floss technique to get it off. I had to resort to a heat gun to loosen the adhesive just so I wouldn't ruin everything. So, yeah. Yeah, the dimple and pimple, it's awesome. It's very rememberable, right? Okay. Now, before we attach that, we want some ribbon, right? But I didn't have fresh freesia ribbon, but I did have basic beige ribbon, which is gorgeous and I love it. So I've got an extra little piece here because I'm going to show you. Normally I would do this with our Stampin' Blends, alcohol markers, right? Still using the brush tip, you go along the side and you just boom, 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 couple of strokes, it's done. Probably should have used the dark one, but anyway. That one also pretty much goes through both sides, so you've got everything done very quickly. With the Stampin' Write marker, it's going to take you a little bit more time because the ink is not as like saturated. It doesn't, it doesn't spread out and blend, right? So I'm going to go down again, side of my brush tip. And really, it doesn't take too much longer. If you go a little slower, and I am not very strong on patience. Hello, ADHD. Let's get it done fast. Then the ink has, a minute to kind of soak in and sit there, right? You'll notice I am getting some lines. I figured that wasn't a big thing. I just kept kind of going over spaces and starting at different spaces so that it would all kind of blend in. Now, when I flip it over, you'll notice that it is not as saturated as the blends are. So I did end up doing the backside as well, but it didn't take as much. And for a lot of it, that'll be hidden, but when I tie the bow, it's kind of like both sides are going to be showing. The other thing about doing this is you're going to get ink on your hands, whereas the alcohol markers, the blends, tend to dry pretty darn quickly, so you don't really get that on your hands. All right, so there is my fresh freesia ribbon. Even though I didn't have any, now I do. So we are going to do fork bow. Everybody loves a fork bow, right? So I want this to wrap around and I want the bow to be about here. So I just need to keep that in mind as I'm doing it. I'm actually going to do the other side, I think. Okay, so we're going to start. I am right-handed. I'm holding the fork in my left hand. I'm coming at it from the right side. I go around. I go on top of the ribbon. And then I go under the ribbon and through the middle tine. Now I'm switching so I can hold the fork and this tail end, pull this down and up and around through that same middle tine. And then just tie it. Yep, the dimple and the pimple, let me tell you, people remember that one. It's much easier because otherwise they're like, okay, I know you told me the innie or the outie or whatever you want to explain it, but dimple and pimple tends to stick. Now, I have a smudge on my card because, of course, the ribbon and whatnot and my hands. So when you're working with ink, it's a good idea to have some hand sanitizer on hand. I can get that on my hands. And even if the ink is still there, it's not going to be transferable anymore. So I always have hand sanitizer in my stamp room. It's really good for cleaning off your blocks too. So if they get gunky or if they get sticky, that's a really good thing to have on hand. It's also good for your glass mat if you have that. Okay, so now we need some tear and tape. Da, 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 da. Because you all know I love to adhere my ribbon with tear and tape. So now, since I have that smudgy, I'm going to put my ribbon right over it, so it's going to hide it. Maybe. I tied that bow a little bit too far. That's okay. Yes, I saw somebody else use the hand sanitizer this week, and I was like, oh yeah, I have it all the time. I didn't think to share that tip with y'all. So it is a very good thing to have on hand in your stamp room or in your stamp box. If you're reduced to like a crate or something, that's where I started as well. I used to have just a little kind of file box on wheels, and I would have my cardstock, and I would have all my stamps, probably like 3 sets, probably, and any ink pads I had, which was probably like 5. I didn't have a lot of stuff back then, so it all just fit in that box, and I would roll it into the kitchen and get everything out and craft, and then I would roll it back out, and clean up, and so that we could have dinner. So, and then it graduated to a small room in our house, and that's when I finally got the big shelving unit behind me. And then when we moved here, it graduated to half the basement. So if you've started right now and you're in just a little small container, just know we all started there. We all started there, and some of us were lucky enough to grow to a nice big craft studio like I have. All right, so we're going to attach that. And the reason I use the tear and tape, in case you haven't been around for this little tip, is because the point where your cardstock is matching up and the ribbon's there, the ribbon is kind of it's putting tension on that. So it's kind of trying to pull away. So if you put that extra strong adhesive right over the ribbon, it'll not only hold the ribbon to the top card, but it'll hold the top card to the bottom. So you've got everything nice and secure. Then we have our little die cut, which is the same flower. I just die cut it out instead. And we're going to use some dimensionals. I will say I love having my video station over here because this is my normal stamping spot. So everything I need is right here. My blocks are to my left, my adhesive, my inks are all behind me. This is where I normally stand to stamp. So, all righty. And that is going to go right over the top. So we have kind of another little layer. And there you go. There is our multicolored card. But here is what I realized after I did this was I used markers from, I think, both the Brights and the Subtles, which is fine because you get to pick out 2 sets when you do the join offer this month and next month. But what if you were trying to decide between different colors? There they are. I made a similar card in each of our color families. So first we have our Subtles. I used the Lost Lagoon and Calypso Coral. Oh yeah, I'll tell you in a minute there, Lucia. Then I used the Brights, and this is Lemon Lime Twist and Blueberry Bushel, I believe. Super, super fun. Love that one. Then I went to the Regals. This is harder to tell, but you can. It shows up on camera, it looks like. So I used Pretty Peacock and Misty Moonlight, I believe. And then I went neutrals too. So if you had kind of a field of, brown kind of thing. So I've got the Pecan Pie and, oh, this is Misty Moonlight. I think this is Azure, and this is Blueberry, and this is Misty Moonlight. I should have put a little Post-it note on each of those to tell you what they each were. Okay, so there's all of your color families. Super, super fun. So the reason I moved my video station is it was not much wider than my glass mat here over there. And anytime I forgot something, I'd have to, leave the video and come over to grab it. So there's that. Plus, I tend to spread out when I stamp. Don't we all? So it was kind of restrictive over there to have just this little space. So I thought it would be nicer to have it over here. Plus, I really like the backdrop of all of my fun pretties, my blends and my inks and everything like that. So I thought this was a nicer backdrop than my whole messy craft. A little easier to contain. So that is why I moved it. But the real benefit is that this is where I normally stamp. So all of my stuff is right here. So I love it. All right, I did promise you that I did use a background stamp as well to do this. Yes, much better now. And I took the Leaf Collection background stamp and I took Lemon Lime Twist, Lost Lagoon, and Pretty Peacock and just colored all the things a little differently. And then I also did it on our sentiment here, which is from Something Fancy. So I did kind of an ombre effect. I went from the Lemon Lime into the Lost Lagoon into the Pretty Peacock so it would match. So you can do this on a big stamp, on a little stamp, on a word stamp, anything, right? You can really go crazy with this technique. And like I said, I do prefer it on the red rubber cling stamps, but I have used it on photopolymer and it has worked, but sometimes it takes a little bit of zhuzhing, which, thank you, Penny. We now know how to spell zhuzh, right? It is, if I can type here, Z-H-U-Z-H is how we spell zhuzh, because Penny found it in a book she was reading. So yay, Penny, thank you for solving the dilemma, the problem, the conundrum, whatever you want to call it. So yes, so anytime you need a little zhuzhing, it's a really nice thing to have. And your markers, remember, are very portable. So if you ever go for retreats, or if you're picking up kids or dropping off kids, or in a doctor's waiting room, any place you want to stamp, on vacation even, you can take that with you. So we got quite a few tips in here tonight. I will be posting on Facebook and Instagram later this week, looking for you. I want to see your samples. So I want you to try this technique and I want to see what you have come up with. So watch for those posts on both Facebook and Instagram to share your samples with me. And I think that's all I have for you tonight. So let me pop back up here. Yeah, this is your reminder. If you found some tips, some inspiration tonight, excuse me, I would love it if you would share the video so that your friends and family can get that knowledge as well. And until next week, I'm still Nan Gerlitz. Happy stamping.